All right, guys, we're on day 2 of SommCon2025 here in San Diego. I have a phenomenal guest lined up. We are with Samantha Cole-Johnson. How are you doing today?
I'm doing really well. How are you?
I'm doing great. It's so nice to meet you in person. I'm a fan. Let's just start there. I've been digging into your content lately, and I love what you're doing. I just wanted to start there by giving you some flowers right away. I love the style in which you are reporting the wine news. It's incredibly objective, concise, and gives you all the information that you need in a world of so much emotion and opinions behind all the news. I love it. Yours is okay, you're giving me what I need to know in a very condensed soundbite, and I love it.
I'm really glad you feel that way because it is fact-checked twice. It is, I'm not allowed to go on tangents that are super opinionated. That is one of the things that we tend to be very thoughtful about. And yeah, I have 2 editors for that. So
awesome.
Both Tara and Andrew, the publication, edit me and make sure that everything that comes out of my mouth is true, factual, and not an opinion.
Okay, so I actually have a follow-up on that right away too. But just so that we know who we're talking with the wine writer, educator, and speaker for Jancis Robinson. You are the host of Wine News in 5, which is on Instagram, which is where I found you, but you also have a podcast on Apple Podcasts, which is where I've subscribed to you now, which I love hearing that in audio. You've done freelance work for the Guild Somm, 750 Daily, Wine and Spirits magazine. So a ton of experience. I mean, there's a lot more there that I could fill in with you. But again, with the Jancis Robinson content, I'm such a big fan. I mean, I still literally refer to the World Atlas of Wine. I think I have the 7th edition at home for maps and just honestly, mostly the maps. The maps on there are amazing. Wine Grapes was such an amazing production from her. I know she's done a lot of other things, but yes, I just kind of want to put that into context of who we're talking here today.
It is a stacked team. I get to work with some of the greats. I love my job.
Good for you. How do you get into it? So let's start here. How do you get into journalism first?
So I started going through educational programs. I was going through the Court of Master Sommeliers. I hopscotched over to the WSET.
So you did start in wine, kind of in conjunction with journalism at the same time.
Back in college, I wrote for the Elephant Journal, but that wasn't, I've always loved writing, but that wasn't super serious. That was more fun. And funny though, because that is kind of linked in, that was linked in at the time with my love of environmental science and business school and writing about that. And this I linked directly into the WSET diploma because I wanted to write about wine production. And so I wrote a series of harvest journals for jancisrobinson.com. And then that transitioned into the position I'm currently in.
Mm-hmm. Amazing. So going back to the original follow-up, you said we fact-checked everything twice. How do you guys fact-check? In just this, I'm asking this from a place of, I'm just curious, because there's so much information out there these days. Half the time, you Google something somewhere and somewhere else, there's different information on it. So what's the process for you for fact-checking a lot of the information that you put out on your show?
So if something comes to me in a press release or from a person, then we are going to cite that person or that press release as the original source. If it's coming from because a lot of what I report from is coming through another journal or the drinks business or Vitisphere, which is a French language wine publication, then I will cite that. And the 2 people who are fact checking me, my general manager, Tara Q. Thomas, and then our deputy editor or general editor and our deputy editor, Andrew Morris, will check all of the sources I've cited. And they will also look at things like, if it was a study, how many people were studied in that? Is it a large enough sample size that we should actually be giving any credence to this study?
Okay, cool. I love it. How often do you encounter things that you double check that are oh yeah, that's there's an incongruency here and we're not going to report on that? Do you find that often?
I would say Andrew probably once a week, or no, not once a week, but once a month at least, he will say, not that story. Sample size isn't big enough. Or that's questionable.
Gotcha.
We've heard different reports. And yeah, we're just trying to stay above board with everything and make sure that if we're giving something the time of day, we know that it is true.
I love that. Okay, I have another question for you. So I want to ask you about wine ratings, and maybe I can get like two takes from you. One, I want to ask you personally kind of what your thoughts are, and then obviously just the process of how you guys go through reviewing and then ultimately giving ratings to so many of the wines that you taste.
Personally, it is my least favorite thing I do. I do not like rating wines because I told you I came from a production background when I was starting to get into wine writing. To boil someone's whole year down to a score
Thank you.
seems super heartless. However, ratings are incredibly useful. So it's shorthand for quality for so many consumers, and I recognize the value of that. More than that, even, I think that reviews, the meat and potatoes of it, where it describes the wine, it'll tell you the color, it tells you the aroma profile, it tells you what the structure is. It'll describe, hopefully, some of our reviewers do this more than others. I will get to that component of it in a second, but we'll describe why it's different from something else in that category, where it goes. Maybe it's more tannic, maybe it's less tannic, or more acidic or less acidic. And I find that piece of it to be very useful. I will say every review depends on the reviewer. You're not putting out a review that's, hey, I mean, we are. JancisRobinson.com gave this a whatever it is on the 20-point scale, because we use 20 points instead of 100. But if that review comes from me versus Julia Harding versus Jancis versus Tam Curran or Tara Q. Thomas, it's different. And we'll publish a review of the same wine from 3 different people. Sometimes that'll be 3 different scores. And it depends on where the wine is in its life cycle, because sometimes it's 10 years later or 5 years later. But it also depends on how you were tasting that day. And most of the time, I will say those reviews are very close together.
Yeah.
So something might have gotten a 16, 16, 5, and 17 from 3 different people.
And you post them individually, right? You don't average them out.
No.
Yeah.
We post them individually so that you can choose over the time that you're reading our reviews.
Yeah.
If you get to know that you like, if your palate jives more with one of us than the other one, you can follow our reviews.
Gotcha.
And you can filter by the person who is reviewing.
I got you. Okay. I love that.
Yeah.
I love it because it almost like, that's kind of like what happened with Robert Parker in a way that, his reviews would literally impact, wineries so heavily. But I think it's also there's a large audience that really respected his reviews, right? So you kind of gravitate towards the person who you think is speaking highly towards the style of wine that you gravitate towards. And what are your thoughts on that?
I will say, I think that as a sommelier or as a wine writer or as a wine educator, you only get to have so much of this is my personal preference. If you say, I don't like Gewürztraminer, that doesn't mean you get to give every Gewürztraminer you taste a low score.
Right.
That would be entirely unfair.
Right.
If I'm reviewing Napa Valley, I actually had someone recently email me and they were a little bit mad because they were like, all of these wines from Napa Valley are such high alcohol. I can't believe that you didn't comment negatively on how high alcohol they are. For the past 20 years, Napa Valley style has been to make wines over 14% alcohol. It doesn't matter if at home I would rather drink something that is 13.5 and under. That's what I can do at home. But in terms of the style for the region, I have to respect that, and I have to give quality within those parameters. It's due, and if it's good and it's 15% alcohol, it's good and it's 15% alcohol, and it gets a good score.
Yep. Okay, next up for you. What's the best way to stay informed about vintage reports in your mind? A lot of times, I'll go to different sources and kind of average out the score of the vintage. And in my mind, that's just okay, well, that's kind of where that vintage was at. But how would you approach that? How do you do that?
Oh, man. It very much varies winery by winery as well as vintage by vintage. So I'd say our site puts out really good vintage reports that will describe to you the what the season looked like and what the variation in the season looked like. But say we are talking about Napa Valley and we're talking about 2022. Did someone pull their fruit off before the massive heat wave in 2022, or did they pull it off afterward? Because that's going to influence the profile incredibly. So I'd say you need a combination of a good vintage report with either an email or to read the tech sheet from the producer you're buying from.
Oh, gotcha.
Or putting it next to a tasting note for that producer.
That's a great tip. Okay, we're moving forward. We're going to do a blind tasting with you if that's okay. But before, I'd love to do a lightning round with you.
Okay.
Bear with me here, okay? One answer. These are quick answers. Most overused word in wine writing.
Authentic.
Favorite grape that nobody's talking about, or your own favorite grape right now.
Also so hard. Can't pick children. I don't get to review. It's not underplayed though. Love Shannon, but it gets a lot of press.
For you, Shannon or Riesling? If you had to choose one.
Shannon.
Favorite cheat meal with wine? Your guilty pleasure?
Oh, Kentucky Fried Chicken and champagne.
Wow, I love it. Dream interview guest, living or past?
Alan York. He was one of the people who was responsible for biodynamics in viticulture in the Americas.
Gotcha. All right, we're tasting wine. What numbers can she choose from? 4 blinds.
1 through 12.
Oh, damn! Look at you. You got them perfectly organized.
Do they go white through red?
Nope. They're
Okay.
randomly all over the place.
Then
so you don't
give
know.
me 3.
Hold on. Let me do it.
Sorry.
Samantha, we're going to do some quick blind tasting if that's okay. It's going to be timed, but you got this. I'm rooting for you. Please pick a number between 1 and 12.
3.
Cassandra, would you please bring us wine number 3? Oh, I got to not do that.
It's timed.
Yes.
How much time do I have?
When you touch the glass, the time is going to start. The reason that we're doing it timed is one, just to keep you moving, and because we have to keep moving here with our schedule, but also to force you to focus on the major things that that the wine is telling you. When you touch the glass, your time will start and you'll have 90 seconds.
Okay, I have to tell you that this is wild to me because usually I have 11 minutes per wine in the MW program.
Perfect. I love it. It's going to force you just to like the most impactful things that you get from this wine.
All right, I haven't even touched the glass yet, but it is pale in color. So I'm already thinking that it is probably a grape variety that has less anthocyanin.
I love it. You're on.
It doesn't have much oranginess. It's mostly a ruby color. So probably not one that has more orangey anthocyanin or age on it. Ooh, except for the fact that it smells dusty and cherry fruited. The tannins are quite drying. A little bit of astringency. They're nice tannins, but it's youthful. A little bit of astringency to the tannin. Quite high acid. I'm going to say that this is an Italian grape variety because of the color of it. It is a more youthful, maybe Nebbiolo or Sangiovese. I'm going to go with Nebbiolo, probably Langhe, just because I don't think it has the age to be a Barolo or a Barbaresco.
What age range would you say that it's in?
I'd say it's between 2 to... What vintage are we? Okay, 2 to 5 years.
Great breakdown within the 90 seconds. I think it's the first one that we actually got within 90. What is the wine?
So number 3 is looking.
Oh, it
Boom.
is Barolo.
You nailed it. Yeah, you got it. Nebbiolo from Piedmont. That's a win.
A little bit off in terms of
What vintage
age.
does that say?
2019.
Perfect.
So this is showing really youthful.
It is, right? And also, maybe it is, these are fresh out of the bottle. We could have maybe decanted that for a little bit, but we didn't get
But still like
3D
the color,
chest here on the surface.
There's not all that much bricking. Super fresh. It actually makes me wonder about their winemaking and how long that they're keeping in barrel versus bottle and all that jazz.
Great job. Okay. I'm stoked that you nailed that. Thank you so much for being here. We super appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Dope.
Thank you guys.
Woohoo! You're amazing.